The following program is brought to you by Jack Miller.
It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Forget what they teach you in school. This is real life, not Wall Street, but Main Street. A real show on what's really involved with starting and running a business with all the ups and downs. Our guests will answer your questions and provide you with valuable information. Stay tuned and join in the conversation.
Hello, everyone. This is Jack Miller, along with my main man, Todd Cohen. We're so pleased to be with you on this beautiful day. Todd, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Jack. Thanks for having me, as always.
Good. We have a great show. Usually our shows run the gamut, really anything from politics to next week we have Jackie Martlin on we're going to talk about. Today we have business, all business. Two successful entrepreneurs. I want to talk to them about how they started, what gave them the encouragement to start, and the inner drive, what obstacles they faced, and how they keep going, how they overcame the obstacles. But first, I know you're a little bit of a neurotic, because I don't know if that's the right word as me. What do you think about when you go to restaurants and you get a paper menu instead of the disgusting menus that everyone touched and licked?
Well, I mean, my first inclination is that sounds more disgusting than the normal disgusting menus they give you that everyone has touched, with chocolate ice cream stains on them and who knows what else.
They're
but
sticky.
If they give you a brand new, hot off the presses, new copy of a menu for each individual guest, then I'm all for it.
That's what I think. We should
all for it.
A revolution, a movement. Paper menus, no matter, could be a junky restaurant or an expensive five-star restaurant, made for Todd Cohen only. Paper napkins, you can take them home, you can write on them, your fingers stick to them, because some of these menus, the napkins, they have like people's food over them. It's sticky.
I agree. They give you a new setting. They give you new plates. I mean, they wash the plates. They wipe down the table. But then they give you these menus that have been touched by every single person that's walked in there, every person on the help, the staff that's come, the waiters, the hostess, God knows who. And I agree. I don't think they get wiped down nearly enough, and I find them to be repulsive.
I agree. Paper napkins. We were out a couple weeks ago. We got paper napkins. My wife was so excited because she knew I would be excited.
Right.
Okay, so let me run by you a potential invention. And feel free, I have no copyrights on this. If anyone's listening, they want to invent it. I spend, and I know Todd does, a lot of people spend tons of time in their car with traffic and things like that. And a lot of us... Way too much. And it's frustrating. As good as satellite TV is, it's frustrating, okay? A lot of us have some bathroom issues. We have all these rituals to going to the bathroom. Okay, what do you think if they invented some kind of car? They're inventing cars that can drive on their own and all this stuff that had a bathroom in it. So somehow you sat down.
I'm hoping just for number ones. I mean, come on.
I would start with that. You sat down and you did your business, maybe like a little bidet shot up, cleaned you off, but somehow you can accomplish both driving and taking care of your personal business at the same time. I think that would be great.
I'm not going to lie. I think that is you're stumbling on genius there. Patent pending, everyone. Patent pending.
I think that's genius.
I don't discount the need for that. I agree with you. I mean, they have rest stops, but you're on some roads and you see next rest stop 57 miles away.
Or did you ever go on those rest stops?
You have to go. And if you're stuck in traffic, there's no telling. I mean, I was in traffic one time on the New Jersey Turnpike coming out of the city, and literally the road was closed. We did not move 1 inch. People were getting out of their cars, having catches with footballs and frisbees. I am not joking. I mean, what do you do? I mean, obviously men are in pretty good shape because they can generally drop trowel on the side of the road and go.
You have to go in the woods. Those restrooms on some of these highways are disgusting.
Oh, my God. And God knows what goes on there. They had that funny scene in Something About Mary, I think it was, of what was going on at a rest stop, and they picked up the serial killer, I think.
I can't imagine what goes on in the rest stop. Anyway, I'm super excited because in 2 weeks, our New Year's Eve Day special, we have Jackie the Joke Man Martling, and he is so funny. I've been listening to his CDs for the past couple weeks, so I would encourage everyone to go to Jackie Martling at not YouTube, at Twitter. He's probably on YouTube too, and get his daily tweets. This guy's out of his mind.
No, he's out of his mind. Always has been. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's been doing comedy since maybe the early '80s, maybe even before that. He was on the Howard Stern show for years.
He's great, and I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
He's also coming to South Florida. He's going to be at Coral Springs at the Raz Room February 6th, Saturday night at 7:30.
Yeah, that's my son's first birthday.
Is it?
It is.
Well, maybe your son will.
It's a little bit early birthday, but I don't know if he'll understand any of that humor.
You don't want to take your son to see Jack tomorrow. It's an above 18, above 21 group. He's also going to be at the Boca Black Box on Glades Road Friday and Saturday night, March 25th and 6th at 8 o'clock. And I know we're going to go to that one.
I'll go with you.
Jackie Martin.
If you'll have me.
We'd love to have you.
We're getting thrown out of that place that night, aren't we?
Probably. I don't know if I'm going to be embarrassed. If we have Jackie on, then we'll be at the same comedy club with them. But anyway, let's jump down to business because today's all business.
No, this is an amazing business week. First of all, the Fed just raised interest rates for the first time in, years?
I think 8 years or something.
Yeah, I think it's since the crisis. And so there's a lot of business to talk about. Business is in the air. I'm feeling it. If you're feeling it. Plus, that shyster guy, the guy who was jacking up the AIDS drugs, the pharmaceutical CEO who was jacking up AIDS medicine like 750%, he's going to jail.
For what?
The feds just indicted him for running a previous company like a pyramid scheme.
Really?
Like an Enron kind of thing.
I haven't been
I
following
love
the
it.
news.
Great news from the business front today.
Yeah, I'm so suspect, but who knows? Who knows? But anyway, we have two guests on. The first guest runs one of the largest, most successful engineering companies in South Florida. This guy has done work literally all over the world. I'm going to bring him on in a minute. The company that he started is called M2E Consulting Engineering. His name's Miroslav Mladenovic. I think I'm getting it right. It's from Croatia. We call him Misha. But fascinating guy, and I think the engineering business, no matter what anyone thinks, is exciting because business is business. And this guy built a fantastic business that survived the downtime. So let's see if we can bring him on. Misha, you there with us?
Yes, I believe I am. How are you doing, guys?
Hey, Misha, thanks for taking the time. How are you?
I'm doing very well, gentlemen. I just want to say I have nothing to do with that company that did the pharmaceutical.
Good. We're glad to hear that. No one should have anything to do with that.
Misha sticks to building buildings and I guess doing the engineering on them after they're built.
Yeah, Misha, you have quite a roster of projects you've worked on. I've stayed at a couple of the hotels that you've worked on. And I guess are you from Croatia?
I am from Serbia originally. The country that I was born into was called Yugoslavia.
Right.
And both Croatia and Serbia were part of that country. So it's like if you were born in California, over time, one day you wake up and you're not American, you're Californian.
Right.
So today I'm Serbian, but I was born in Yugoslavia.
That is a beautiful part of the world. The Dalmatian coast is heaven on earth, I will tell you.
Absolutely. I was there, as a matter of fact, 2 years ago in Dubrovnik, and it's still heaven on earth. I actually built the hotel called Croatia in Cavtat, 12 kilometers, 17 kilometers south of Dubrovnik.
Wow.
Before leaving.
When did you leave there?
I left in 1987, so that makes me a really established and long-term Floridian, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on the car, the Yugo?
My thoughts on the Yugo is that's the best possible scam of marketing that my former country played on the entire world. Because the sole fact that I'm driving from Gainesville to Daytona and I see a Yugo passing me and I go, that's from my former country is quite elating. And I'm sure that there is no more part for it, but it was just exciting to see a product of not the finest engineering, to put it mildly, coming out of my former country.
Right. Is that what the impetus was for you to become an engineer?
To make the Yugo better? No, not really. The impetus was much simpler than that. I had a tiger mom that told me, listen, you have too much energy, so you can study whatever you want as long as it's medicine or engineering.
There you go.
So I chose the least of the two evils, I guess, by studying engineering.
How's I know I want to focus on how you built your business, but I have to ask you,
Sure.
How's the political climate in that area of the world these days?
Well, candidly, They call it area in transition, which is a way of covering a lot of unclear stuff. Serbia today is a democracy, as much as we can call democracy that is run by parties that had some form of affiliation to the former government, plural, in the past. So, I'm not a communist. I'm kind of pink today because I'm a socialist, or I was blue yesterday, but I'm with yellow dots today, and that makes me a Democrat. But I think that there is some time that needs to pass so that the culture of democracy is both institutionalized and respected in that area of the world.
It sometimes it takes generations for that to happen.
I think it takes generations. We are on the cusp of it. Recently, Serbia has actually been authorized to start, after many, many, many years of trying, to join the European Union. And I think that they're on their way. Different people are guesstimating different dates, but roughly by 2019, they should be integrated in the European Union.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, so maybe before I have a million questions about you, because I'm just fascinated how you take an engineering company and really build it into a super engineering company.
Thank you.
But maybe let's start by telling the listeners what an engineer does, what an engineering company does. Give them like a minute or two background on your business, what you guys do, and who would use you.
Sure. We are what is called forensic engineers, which is a fancy way of saying that we are the emergency room of the construction industry. And an emergency room is really where you go where you don't want to go, which is typically the type of work we do. Essentially, if something breaks, cracks, falls, people call upon us. That's what the forensic engineer would do. But we have also clientele that, knowing that, use us as a preventive measure. So instead of using us as an emergency room, they use us as their general practice doctor that they come and check on a regular basis. So we have the proactive clientele that uses us to control the quality of their projects, which are the largest developers in the area. We are general consultant to the related group, to Lennar, to just mention a few, to some of the new big players in town, such as the Faena Group. And we spread our work all the way on the East Coast from Key West to Jupiter, and we have some work on the West Coast of Florida as well. Essentially, we are a Florida-wide company. What made us different is that it is different in the sense that we treat our customer like they were truly being served in a service-based industry. Engineers typically are not known for their personality, so to speak. You know the old joke that they say that an extroverted engineer is the one who looks at your shoes and not his while he talks to you.
That's funny.
We employ not only brilliant engineers, but brilliant engineers who can explain the most complex and candidly boring engineering stuff to an 8-year-old. And that's really what we do the best.
Now, you've also made a name for yourself in the LED building projects, in environmentally friendly, I guess, or green-friendly buildings. How did that come about?
Yes. Well, that came from, I say it with all the love in my heart. We are, deep inside, we are nerds. We're just friendly nerds, or nerds with a personality, if you want. So at the beginning of times when green energy was young, so to speak, it was not that popular to speak about it because it was an exotic thing that nobody wanted to talk. The vice president of the company, Mr. Markowski, was actually one of the founders of the U.S. Green Building Council section for this part of the country. And we thought that as engineers, we owe it to future generations to build more environmentally conscientious structures, or ones that would have less impact on the environment. I have to be candid with you, that was not always a happy story to tell, because we are cursed in Florida with both having fairly cheap energy, so to go to alternative sources is not as economically attractive as, let's say, in California or in Massachusetts. But also, we don't have an initiative for individual owners or businesses to turn to environmentally more conscientious practices, because there is no way to push your excess energy back into the grid because of the control that the major utility has over it.
Gotcha. So in other words, it's more economic for someone to do it in a different state, maybe Ohio, than in Florida.
If I would tell you that the second largest user of solar power as states go in the country is New Jersey, would you believe me?
I would.
And we are in the Sunshine State.
I hear you. Well, Misha, stick with us. When we get back, we have to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, I want to get into the specifics in terms of what challenges you face and how you've overcome them. So stick with us for a few minutes, everyone, and we're going to continue our conversation with Misha.
Don't turn that dial. We'll be right back.
Turn it around.
Do you need long-term real estate financing? Gelt Financial is located right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and provides 30-year terms with no balloon payment whatsoever on non-owner occupied residential and commercial real estate. With a minimum loan amount of only $75,000 all the way up to $5 million, we provide common sense underwriting and quick closings. We don't require tax returns whatsoever. Call right now at 561-221-0900. Again, that's 561-221-0900.
Did you invest in a non-liquid real estate partnership? Do you want and need liquidity? There's finally an answer. Quick Liquidity is a direct buyer of real estate minority interest and tenants in common investments across the country. To find out if we would buy your non-liquid investment, call us at 561-221-0881 or visit us at quickliquidity.com. That's quickliquidity.com. If you're buying, selling, or investing in real estate, call attorney Dan Kaskow, 561-237-6822. Mr. Kaskow is board certified by the Florida Bar as an expert in real estate law. He's been practicing law for more than 20 years and is a partner in the law firm of Sachs Kaplan with offices in Boca Raton and Tallahassee. Dan Kaskow handles real estate, corporate, condominium, and homeowner association matters throughout Florida. From residential purchases and sales, bulk buying and selling of condominium units, to purchases and sales of commercial properties. Contact attorney Dan Kaskow at 561-237-6822 for your real estate, corporate, and community association legal needs. Attorney Dan Kaskow, 561-237-6822. Non-attorney spokesperson for attorney Dan Kaskow.
For up-to-date news, the latest info, contests, and more, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at 880TheBiz.
Where money talks.
Welcome back to It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Call us at 305-541-2350. Follow us on Facebook at Jack Miller Down to Business or on Twitter at HJackMiller1.
Hey, everyone, this is Jack Miller again with my main man, as always, Todd Cohen, and we have Misha. Misha is the founder and president of M2E Consulting Engineers and generally a brilliant guy. Misha, thank you for sticking through the break. I have some specific questions for you because I think engineering, we'll see at the end, but my theory is engineering is business just like most businesses.
Absolutely.
What have your biggest challenges have been in starting and running one of the preeminent engineering companies in South Florida?
Well, the challenges have first been obviously in being able to establish your footprint in the marketplace. I was lucky enough that upon separation from my previous partner in a similar business, I was able to walk away with my accounts and my clients' relationships. But that was just the start of the company, and that was over 10 years ago. The challenge is, whenever you're in construction, is how do you overcome the ebbs and flows of the market. We have done it by serving two mutually, different but same area of the field by having complex services provided to both developers and condo associations. Let me explain. When a building goes up, we work for the developer and we make sure that everything is done right. the complementary side of that is the condo association that owns that building once the building is built. Well, when the buildings are being built, the developer is the one that would employ our services. So when you see cranes around the city, we would be employed by the developers. Once those buildings are finished, then the condo association takes over and in a process called the turnover, takes control of the project and employs forensic engineers to find all the issues with the building, and those would actually happen when the construction starts to retire. So essentially, when developers start to soften as far as the market that we serve, the condo association that we serve start to ebb. And that way, I cannot say that we have a recession-proof model, but it is a recession-resistant model of a business that actually pumps business on an ongoing basis for the firm.
What percentage would you say of new construction projects have, let's say, significant issues or problems that you detect?
It's interesting that you ask that, but the issue is really that there is always a defect du jour that happens, and it changes. And the comparative advantage that we have as forensic engineers is that, like dentists, we live in the world of misery. So we see those things as they happen. So whether it is the developer that hires us to be sure that it doesn't happen, or the association that hires us to be sure that we have to find what is wrong with it, we have a comparative advantage of seeing that happening in the marketplace over time. So what used to be, I guess, Chinese drywall or lead paint 5 or 10 years ago, today will be hybrid sprinkler systems or robotic parking.
So you try to get out in front of it.
That is correct.
So you really answered my another question I have is, how do you survive, or how did you guys do during the downtime? And I think you said your business serves a different market during the downtime.
That is correct. We essentially, when the downtime happened, as far as the developer side of the work, we serve the condominium side and the litigation support, because we work for all of the largest law firms in the area, whether it's the Greenberg Trarics, the Bills and Sternbergs, the Ackermans of this world. In their construction litigation cases, they come to us, and sometimes directly to us, or sometimes the association, through their attorneys, would hire us. So I cannot say that it didn't hurt us, because a portion of the work we do would always be new construction, but we were hurt less and we were able to survive and expand.
Gotcha. What do you think in a normal market your biggest challenge is today?
The same, like everybody that employs professionals, the lack of truly qualified professionals. And if you think that it's difficult to find a brilliant engineer, try to find one with personality. We as a business model look at the client and our client servicing as a unique model of constantly being able to serve them to the best of our capabilities. And that requires an open line of communication, an ability to communicate both in the written and oral way that is not typical for engineers.
Gotcha. So how do you attract and retain good people?
Yep, this is a recurring theme on this show.
And by the way, every self-employed person I ask on the air, off the air, they all say the same thing. Human capital is their biggest problem.
Human capital is the biggest problem. I have to tell you, we are blessed, I guess, with the fact that, the old joke that says that every business reflects the personality of its ownership for its good and bad sides as well.
Sure.
We kind of modeled the business, both my partner and I, based on what would a company look based on where we would want to work. And I'll give you a couple of examples. We have, by our beliefs, the best comprehensive benefit package that exists in the consulting engineering field. I fund full medical, dental, eye, long-term and short-term disability, as well as a life insurance for all of my employees. I also have a 5% matching 401k, and I believe that our salaries are competitive in the marketplace. We try to attract the youngest and brightest by interviewing at the universities of our choice. Those are in the States, U of F and FIU, and out of state, Georgia Tech, Villanova, and we try to get the right talent and retain it. By the same time, I try very hard to retain my senior talent because it took me time to both hire and train them, and they are essentially the mentors of the new waves that come to our doors.
You mentioned Villanova. We're both from Philadelphia. Why Villanova?
I'm going to tell you, Villanova teaches still engineering in a way that is very appealing to a forensic engineer. And again, if you think about an engineer as a nerd who sits in an 8x8 cubicle and just looks at the screen, that's not a forensic engineer. A forensic engineer, and I think that's what our business card should say, is like we are problem solvers. And you need to be able to intuitively sense the problem and how to solve it. Villanova has a very interesting curriculum where engineers are both encouraged to use the most sophisticated technological tools that they can have, such as computers and mobile devices, but at the same time, they force them to do their calculation by hand. What that does is that an engineer that comes out of Villanova actually understands numbers and orders of magnitude, and he knows intuitively what result to expect from the computer and not just believe what the computer tells him blindly.
Got it. Is there something specific, like in the South Florida marketplace, given the propensity for hurricanes, that you need to know as an engineer, like you would, I guess, out west with seismic stuff?
We have the toughest building code in the nation. So what drives us, and essentially I always say the code is the minimum that you can legally build to. That doesn't mean that it's our recommendation, but you can't go lower than that. And I'm sure that builders and developers will complain about that, but the bottom line is that it saved both assets and lives long term. I could never understand how the West Coast magically is on another code while they had borne the brunt, I think, of the last 2 or 3 hurricanes that actually came through the state.
Right.
Interesting. Misha, what didn't we cover? I don't know how the half hour flew by, but it did. We only have about 2-3 minutes left. What didn't we cover that you want to tell us about M2E and your meteoric, I can't even speak, rise to success?
I think it's all about people. We are an engineering company that actually people like to go to work to. We have company-funded happy hours every Friday that me and my partners attend to. If you know an engineer or if you're an engineer, my email is Misha, M-I-S-H-A, @M2E.com. We would love to hear from you.
So you're always looking for good talent.
Absolutely. If you're an engineer and think that the company that is an engineering company but feels like a promotional or ad agency is your cup of tea, come to us.
Misha, after the interview, not on the interview, I want to find out where that happy hour is. Todd and I may crash it one day.
Yeah.
My true pleasure. Come on in every Friday.
Misha,
I have one final question. Do you play any sports? Are you a hockey player? Because I know there's a lot of people in the NHL with your name. I'm curious.
Well, actually, those Miroslavs are actually Czech people or Polish people. We Slavs people are not very creative with first names. Not only do we have a lot of Miroslavs, but every single Slavic name that begins with me ends up being Misha. So whether you're Mikhail, Milan, Milivoy, or Miroslav, you're a Misha. The sport that I play is the religion of my country, which is basketball. And funny you mention it, I just went for an injection of Silvix in my right knee this morning because I played it for over 40 years.
Well, watch yourself. Don't play too much. Misha, I want to thank you. I know how busy you are. You're unbelievable. You're obviously extremely intelligent. Any engineers or want-to-be engineers, look up Misha. Go to M2E. Great guy. Misha, thank you very much. Have a wonderful holiday. We really appreciate you being on the show, my friend.
Bye, Misha.
My true pleasure. Happy holidays, gentlemen. All the best.
Same to you. Thanks, Misha. Everyone, thank you very much. I thought it was a great interview. We have to go to traffic and a commercial. And next, we have, I think, a pretty exciting guys who invented a Jersey tomato sauce. They're called Two Guys Food Group, who invented Jersey tomato sauce. So we'll be back with Dave right after the break.